The New York Giants release Blake Martinez. Um, Martinez was signed by the Giants in the 2020 offseason, and had his season end early last year. It was an ACL injury for Blake Martinez, and my expectation was that he was going to be gone. So I was surprised that in March he wasn't cut, and there was a restructure. Martinez took a pay cut, and so from there it's like, all right, like, assuming everything kind of goes smoothly, Martinez will remain on the team. But a week before, just about a week before the season begins, Blake Martinez is off the roster, and I'm fine with that part of it. But what I find confusing is that why wasn't Blake Martinez cut a lot sooner? So they basically cost themselves $2 million by waiting this long. Like, all we can do right now is speculate. Could it have been a matter of Martinez just, they wanted to see how he looked coming off of the surgery and they just weren't satisfied? I suppose that could be part of it. Although all reports seem to indicate that he had looked fine. No one was saying, "Oh, like he looks washed. He's a step slow." All reports were pretty normal. It seemed like Blake Martinez was going to be the starter. A bit of a red flag, and what seemed odd at the time, but I don't make a big deal about the captains. And the Giants named like 10 of them. Blake Martinez was not one of those captains, so I did find that strange, considering that there was a bunch of them, and Blake Martinez had been a pre-existing captain and he wasn't. But it never made me think, oh well, he's going to be off the team. And then sure enough, he was released. So I don't know. Maybe they said it was Jordan Ronan says it's a mutual decision. What does that exactly mean? I don't know. I mean, other than the obvious, obviously both felt like it was best to move on. But what exactly went down? And maybe these are things that we'll find out. All we can do is just guess at this point. But I think there must have been something going on behind the scenes. Martinez, definitely a good teammate, like no question about that. Maybe, I don't know, maybe he didn't like the direction of where things were headed for himself. Although again, it does seem like he was ticketed for a starting role, and so now you're starting inside linebackers are Tay Crowder and Micah McFadden. Look, this roster is just not very good. The Giants are not going to do very well this season. You just have to accept that reality, because that's just the case. And the Giants have made that clear. Winning is not really at the forefront of importance, and I'm fine with that. But obviously, you got to take a step back for a second and just kind of accept that. The Giants, they released James Bradbury, they released Logan Ryan, they released Blake Martinez. So those are a lot of, with varying degrees of success. Like for me, Logan Ryan, I don't know how much he necessarily has left. I know James Bradbury, I think he'll still do pretty well, unfortunately, with the Philadelphia Eagles. We'll see where Blake Martinez lands. Maybe he'll go to the Raiders and kind of team back up with Patrick Graham. That's possible. I mean, maybe this was a Wink Martindale sort of thing. But again, Wink Martindale was on board when the decision to not cut Blake Martinez earlier on. Like, so what changed? I guess is my question. Because again, this is not a cap dump. There is minimal cap savings here by doing it now, a week before the season. So something I think must have went a little bit awry. But at the same time, it's not all that. Blake Martinez, being let go is not surprising. It's the timing of it that is surprising. Why now exactly? And he wasn't cut on the initial when the Giants cut down to 53 men on the roster. He wasn't cut then. It was the corresponding sort of move, although it could have just been purely coincidental, was Trey Phillips was picked up off waivers from the Ravens. He's an offensive lineman. I believe he's a tackle. He might be a tackle and guard. But Phillips, who was a third-round pick by the Ravens in 2020, and with that move, Martinez is off the roster. So, again, you look at this defense, You look at the team, you look at the defense, and there is no depth at all. And the starters are really not that great either. If we're being perfectly honest, the linebacker room now, like if Blake Martinez was in there, um, you're likely looking at just a better overall unit. It's just kind of the facts of the matter. Unless somehow, it was very apparent that Martinez just lost more than a step off of the surgery, but and the cornerback room, forget about it. Behind Adoree Jackson, it is really really bad. So if Adoree Jackson ever went down, like teams are going to throw on the Giants all day long. So, but I think Joe Schoen, I think that there's an acceptance, but at the same time, if I have to be honest, some of these moves are still a little bit strange in terms of the timing, in terms of the fact that a lot of these aren't necessarily, the Giants don't have any money. The Giants are very, very up against it. And so it's a bad combination. When you're a team that's in rebuild, doesn't have a great roster currently, and doesn't have money, that's a problem. Now, I think even if it's really bad this year, Shane and Daboll, it's hard to really evaluate them. And I'm sure we will. I'm sure as fans we will. Like if the Giants do play poorly, blame will still go to them. I guess maybe more sort of Daboll, because there's more exposure there. Whereas Shane, you could at least wrap your head around. Well, this is still a heavy amount of Dave Gettleman's roster. Although, with that being said, you could also say, all right, well, we haven't gotten the players that fit Daboll's system and vision. So, you look at the offense right now, and on paper, even though I go back and forth, like what ends up better, the offense or the defense? On paper, theoretically, it kind of should be the offense on paper. But to me, the defense, you kind of know they're not going to be all that good. The offense, I think it fluctuates. Either they could actually be halfway decent, or they could just be like awful. I kind of think there's no in between with that offense. And I kind of suspect that it may not go so well. But the offensive line, it's banged up. But like Shane Lemieux, he's going to be out for a bit. But if it's only Lemieux and you have Thomas and Neal, you have Lewinsky, you have Feliciano, like the offensive line could be okay. Maybe. And you got to understand, it's still a very new offensive line. Like, and continuity is key. So it should improve, but it's probably not going to be anything great. And the depth is pretty hurt too. I mean, Josh Zudu, the rookie, is banged up. Ben Bredesen is banged up. And so the depth there is certainly lacking. So, Daniel Jones, we'll see how he does. I don't think that Daniel Jones will be the Giants quarterback come 2023, but I am curious to see how he does. Like, I hope he does well. I really hope that he performs. That would be great, but I don't, when it's all said and done, I think, he really needs to have a very, very, very good season. And I think they're going to, put him in a position to do so, right? I mean, in terms of scheme, personnel as well. Although, look, Kenny Galladay, I was excited about the Kenny Galladay edition, but really now it's not looking so good. Like, he doesn't look very good. And look, but I don't want to fully judge it until we see the regular season, to be fair to him. Maybe, there is a big difference between preseason and regular season. I'll be fair to him there, but I will say this: Kenny Galladay, I don't think that ends well either. Kadarius Toney, I'm very excited about his talent and ability, but can he stay on the field? Sterling Shepard, the longest tenured Giant, the only player that remains from the Jerry Reese era. He's coming off of a major injury and has always been injury prone in his career. Then there's Wan'Dale Robinson, who, what will his role exactly be? There's a lot of question marks. The tight end room, the tight end room is awful. The tight end room, fourth round pick Daniel Bellinger is your starter, and there's really not a whole lot. And who knows what he'll provide? And there's just not a whole lot else. Tanner Hudson was recently picked up. He had recently been on the Bucks and the 49ers. He might have been on the Titans for a very short amount of time. So the tight end room really needs some improvement. But I almost wonder, like, how much do the Giants care? And I say that delicately. They care. They want to win games, of course. But I think that there's just different priorities. And so I think, like, look, that the cornerbacks are going to be really bad. The linebackers, it's a lot of inexperience. Like I just said, the tight end, it's just not a very good roster. And so I think fans, it's tough because the Giants have not been good recently, and I don't think they're going to be good again this year. And it might take some time. And kind of another thing that's kind of tough is this Giant schedule is actually really not that tough. It's really not that difficult. But on the flip side, I'm sure the other teams that are facing the Giants feel the same way. So like, I'm just like I think like when the Texans show up on the schedule, right? I think we play the AFC South. Yes, it's like, oh, like that's good, or like the Jaguars, all right, that's good. But I'm sure they feel the same way. Oh, the Giants are the schedule. Okay, that could be a win for us. So you're not going to win all those games. You may not even win most of them. Like the Giants are probably a team that's going to be at best a bottom 10 team in the NFL at best. And this is coming from someone who really, I think Shane and Daboll, I like that combination. I really do. I really think that they got that right. I mean, it's way too early to tell, but there's a trust level that I have in them, and I'm willing to be patient with them. I mean, I say this now, right? I mean, watch. Like, somehow we speak a year from now, and the patience might be gone. But I want to be patient. But this roster, it's not pretty. It's not pretty. But in conclusion, Blake Martinez released by the Giants, and again, him being released in general, not a crazy surprise, but the timing definitely so. With a week before the regular season begins, we're looking at a different linebacking core, and I wish Blake Martinez well. Seemed like a good guy, was a good teammate. It's sort of was he not the captain because they kind of knew that he'd be gone, or was him not being the captain somehow a reason that sort of led to him wanting to leave? I doubt that. Blake Martinez doesn't seem like the type that would be like super offended that he wasn't named the captain, but there's something to that. I think it's more of the former. I think it's more so they kind of maybe knew internally that he wasn't going to be there much longer, therefore why name him a captain? But anyway, Giants released Blake Martinez. I thought it'd be good to sort of have a bit of a refresh. It's been a while since I've been talking about the Giants, but I am excited for the regular season to begin. Expectations are low, but basically, I don't expect anything too major to happen from here until week 1. But if anything does happen, I will definitely be here to talk about it.